Hi, Chef.
Hello. I'm sorry. I'm inept with talk about a millennial that's inept at Instagram, eh?
Yeah, but I'm shocked that you're inept at Instagram. But yeah, I
I
love
know
your hair, by the
exclusively
way.
one. Oh, thank you. It is brought to you by random mental breakdowns during the lockdown. So thank the mental breakdowns during the lockdown.
Okay, great. So, Chef, thank you so much for joining me. I was like wowed by your resume. I mean, I don't think there's any place that, you've left that you've not been to. Cordon Bleu, Chef Rachel Allen. I mean, so impressive at such a young age. And then, of course, being head chef at Ether Chocolate in Mumbai. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I mean, it's so exciting.
Right. So the one thing that I absolutely am so jealous with a lot of the chefs I worked with is they always, every time you ask chefs about their journey, they always start out with, my earliest childhood memories, my mom cooking for me, and my mom is just the most terrible chef. She
Oh.
cannot cook. So I didn't really grow up in a household that did a lot of cooking, and I wasn't one of those people that started out cooking at a young age. So cooking and being a chef came to me as a sort of byproduct of me wanting to study wine with Rachel. So I moved to Rachel's farm and I studied wine with Colm McCann there. And one day Rachel just looked at me and said, "You can make cake." And I was like, "Can I?" And she's like, go for it, kiddo." So one thing led to another. I moved to Paris, moved to Belgium after that. Then to the States to study and work with Melissa Coppell, who was the World Chocolate Master at the time. Vancouver, as you mentioned, Italy, and then most recently in Mexico to do my master's in pastry.
Oh, amazing.
So,
that's
been
amazing. No, but that's amazing. And, but how did you discover your love for chocolate specifically?
Right. So as I said, started out with wine, and then I moved to Paris to study pastry. So that's where it started out. Was I knew that dessert was something that I really really liked. And one thing that I liked about dessert over sort of cuisine was that it was a lot more technical. So even when I studied wine, study other things, when I studied chemistry, it was all about knowing a lot about one thing as opposed to knowing a little bit about everything. So I really enjoyed the fact that pastry was very technical. It was all or nothing. You crack it or you don't, and that is a sort of challenge that I really enjoy. And that's the same thing that happened between pastry and chocolate. Chocolate is a lot more technical. It's a lot more sort of breaking down one thing as opposed to learning a lot of things. And I like to see sort of beauty and sort of layer upon layer of complexity that one ingredient has to offer.
Okay. I get what you're saying, but then, in India, given that, we're a very Amul, Nestle, Cadbury kind of, that's the extent people know about chocolates out here. How did you, when you came back to Mumbai and you started working, how did you find the Indian palate, and do you think it's developed over time?
I think that is something very early on that I decided not to bother myself with.
Okay.
I said, this is what I do and I'm going to stay true. I mean, as I said, I've spent all of these years being the best chocolatier, working with the best chocolatiers in the world. It would be a disservice to my craft to not do it to the best of my ability. And I'm lucky enough to have had investors and I've had people that helped me build the brand that prescribe to the fact that you do what you can, the best you can, and the market will grow around you. And slowly but surely the market is growing around me, and I'm happy, I'm blessed, as you say.
Okay, so you studied in Paris, and of course, Belgium is the chocolate hub of the world in a way. But what was that experience like in terms of things that you learned about chocolate, the differences in chocolate. See, to the lay person, we wouldn't know, much. But to somebody like you who studied chocolate so minutely, right? When we think of Belgium, we think of chocolates. Is it truly the world's hub? If you want the most divine chocolates, is it the Godiva kind that you have to head to Belgium and have it over there? Tell us a little bit about the chocolate world.
Right. So much like so the way that I think about Belgian chocolate is the same way I think about Italian espresso, right? The reason that Italian espresso is sort of a mainstay, is sort of the iconic coffee, is because one, colonialism, and two, Italy sort of appropriated this tradition and sort of fine-tuned it to fit European flavors. Italy doesn't grow any coffee. Italy is outside the coffee belt. Belgium doesn't grow any chocolate. It doesn't grow any cacao. It's outside the cacao belt. So in some ways, yes, Belgian chocolate is more hype than substance. But in others, there is a real respect that needs to be owed to the artisans that worked really hard to refine the chocolate making process in Belgium, in Switzerland for milk chocolate, in France for sort of modern chocolate, in Switzerland for avant-garde, in Spain for avant-garde chocolate. And you should owe them that sort of reverence. And of course, the artisans, the modern artisans today, they grew up with that cutting edge chocolate tradition. So they are primed to being ahead of their craft, as opposed to chocolatiers around the world. That's just like saying the best Indian restaurants are going to be in India, but you shouldn't discount the fact that there are your Gagananans and there are your even people of other ethnicities that can do Indian food really, really, really well. And the fact that there's really good Indian food in India is a function of the fact that the people that make it here grew up with it, not necessarily that they're more talented.
Right. Okay. I get that. So speaking about you specifically, what would be your USP, or what is your specialty in terms of, working with chocolate and the kind of desserts that you make?
I think, again, going back to sort of the concentration or the focus on breaking down a single element as opposed to adding more elements. I think what I pride myself doing differently from a lot of chefs in India today is I don't worry about the chocolate and what sort of pairs with it. I more so concern myself with the innate intricacies of the chocolate. So I pay a lot of attention to origin. And of course, I've been lucky enough to travel the world and taste a lot of single origin, single plantation chocolates, work with a lot of the family-owned plantations across the world, and how the chocolate that they grow, the cocoa they grow, influences the complexity of the chocolate that comes out of those regions. And so to be able to intelligently and carefully work with the nuances within those origins, I think is something that I concentrate a lot on. And secondly, and I know this is a little bit of a dangerous thing to say, but I've always said that I'm not going to follow the sort of Kochi Indian art tradition. I'm not going to pay attention to ethnocentric or meritocratic approaches to chocolate. So I always say, like, I don't care if your honey is Indian. Is it better than honey that I can get from Ghana? So that's something that I think I found personally that I do slightly differently from a lot of chefs here. I would love to use something that's Indian if it's better.
Right. Okay. So what are some of the desserts that you've created in the recent past, with chocolate that have been extraordinary, and even in terms of the reception, the way people have accepted it or loved it? Can you just give us a few examples of those?
Right. So I think, I mean, we're speaking recently, we only started Ether Chocolate about 6 months, 8 months ago.
Okay.
So everything is pretty recent in that regard.
Right.
But one thing that I think is really taken off, and one thing that we've gotten a lot of positive reception for is our smoked chocolate series. So we work again with origins of chocolate and finding the correct wood to pair with that chocolate, the correct sort of smoke resonance, because just like every chocolate tastes different, every wood tastes different, and so we work with oak wood and pairing it with Ecuadorian chocolate. We work with Madagascar chocolate, pairing it with mesquite. So that sort of combination has worked really well, and we've grown out into that smoked chocolate space. We recently also created our version of a black forest because it's cherry season.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
That
we
looked divine.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so we one of the ways that we reinvented the black forest was to use smoked chocolate in the black forest because it sort of works with that sort of campfirey mesquite roundedness of cherry. So yeah, definitely smoked chocolate is something that's worked really well for us.
Okay. So you're based in Mumbai right now, and do you have plans of franchising out across India, or you're just focusing on Mumbai and then figuring things out slowly?
I think definitely way too early to think franchising. Where maybe so it's a toss up, right? For anybody like me that's predominantly a chef, where I want to have an eye and I want to have quality control on everything, but at the same time, I want everyone to taste my chocolate. I want the most people to taste what I make. So we're looking at making it available pan India, shipping it out, maybe doing some dark stores, but franchising it out is definitely not something that we have in the cards because it's a lot of giving control of the recipe to somebody. And I mean, go ahead, have my recipe, but I don't trust you to make it right.
Okay, so I'm sure every chef is not always successful with all the concoctions or whatever they try to come up with. What have been some of your worst disasters ever?
There's so many. There's so many. Yeah, no, I mean, today we were trying to work with sort of reinventing for our new collection. Where we're working at reinventing. We're working on a collection called Inspiration, where we take one inspiration because with our inspirations, just like the smoke, the inspiration was a campfire. And it's a very slanted version. It's a very conceptualized version of a campfire to go from campfire to a smoked chocolate. So I wanted to work on an inspiration collection which is a little more direct, which is a little more in your face. The inspiration is a little cleaner. It's a little more impactful. And for that, we were trying to create a gourmet version of an After Eight because that is one of those like trashy chocolates that I really, really like. Again. Disaster.
Okay.
Disaster. Yeah. So I know, and that's another thing. Shout outs to Rachel and Darina. One thing that I owe to them a lot is my love for mint. Because I don't know if you ever had a chance to visit their farm. They have a herb garden, and in the herb garden there's this section dedicated to mint. And they have your frost mint, winter mint, love mint, rosemary mint, like just peppermint, winter mint, like mints for days. So I love working with mint because, again, I understand the different kinds of mint and how sort of which one works well with which chocolate. So yeah, even the smallest thing where creating a mint chocolate, which mint to use.
Right. It's interesting you brought that up. Now, when you're making, you do understand, okay, cacao you source from different parts of the world, especially Africa and so on. But what about the rest of the ingredients? Are you, you want quality ingredients. So are you looking at like organic farmers and, very particular about, you do say that you would use Indian ingredients if the quality is really, really good. But do you get everything that you need here in India, or it's still a challenge?
It's a challenge, but I try to think of it not as a what I want to create, and then I can't find it in there, which is I see a lot of sort of younger chefs that come, especially from Le Cordon Bleu, like from my alma mater. I shouldn't say that, but I see a lot of chefs that come from like fresh out of Le Cordon Bleu, and the one critique that I get is India mein nahi milta hai. Like, how am I going to make this in India? It's too hot. It's too blah blah blah. And I'm like, sir, you're a chef. Work with what you have. Make magic with what you have. And you know, there's a lot of stuff in India to work with. Like, we're one of the most sought after culinary traditions. The fact that we have chosen to take those ingredients and turn it into sort of the spices and the curries is one way to go about it. Another way to look at it is we have a lot of ingredients that you could reinterpret in a different way, in a sort of more Western, more European way. Just I don't like when chefs come and whine to me about not having the ingredients. Like, work with what you have, sir.
Okay, that's quite interesting, and I agree with that. You also worked with some coffee companies in India, right? You made some. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. No, I mean, coffee companies are some of my favorite people to work with, because, you know, they also have the same sort of artisanal spirit as we have. They also just care to the world and beyond about, you know, just the smallest little thing that changes when they're roasting their coffee. So the first one I did was with Blue Tokai. I created a tart for every roast that they did, and we had live on their menu for 2 weeks, which was a blast. It was my first month, I think, in Bombay. So I mean, shout out to Blue Tokai for seeing value in me. I guess this was before Ether even. So that was great. And then since then we've created a lot of desserts and a lot of sort of hot chocolates and things for Casey, for Koinonia. Another the very, very cool company to work with, because they're always looking to create new exciting things, and working with their coffee is always a blast. And most recently, coming up 2 weeks from now, we're launching a collaboration with Dope Coffee Roasters. So that's the first time we're doing like a coffee in chocolate, like a coffee chocolate, how that sort of works together. So very, very excited about that.
Oh, that's exciting. But it's sad that only people in Mumbai get to taste all this. Very soon. Yeah. Personally for you, when, you know, through your studies, through your travels, did you find, you know, any challenges for yourself personally, or did you think, you know, all the experiences you've had would eventually, you know, make for a wow dessert on the plate?
Challenge. Well, I mean, of course, you know, holding an Indian passport is challenging when you're trying to, and don't let me sound like I'm not incredibly grateful. I have had an incredible amount of privilege when it comes to traveling, when it comes to staying in places and working in places, but it has been a lot of like working in I mean, when I was working with Cedric, like it was 3 months to the day, and then I had to leave, and there's so much more I could have done there because of visa reasons. And then don't tell anyone, but when I was in Belgium, I was there illegally because the Belgian laws are not as strict. I was there as an intern, but I definitely got paid. So yeah, it was a lot of hush hush when it came to, you know, and then having to prove yourself every time, going from one employment to the other, having to shift countries, and then saying like, hire me, I promise I won't tell immigration, I'm just here to like. So yeah, I think, but you know, at the same time, that helped me move around as much as possible. So.
Latoya is like,
yeah, Latoya.
She's like, it's a public platform. That's okay. But you've obviously traveled to a lot of countries, but the way we perceive chocolate in Europe versus, say, in Asia or even in Japan, it's very different, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think Japan, of course, is the most sort of the most like the way that the Japanese approach chocolate is so interesting, and is the way that I wish everybody perceived chocolate. They're so interested in nuance and in finesse. In Europe, it's again about sort of working and reinterpreting tradition in chocolate, because they have this very rich confectionery tradition. So it's all about reinventing that tradition. In America, it's all about being cutting edge. Like taking chocolate and confectionery to where it's never been. And in Spain, which I see as a chocolate tradition in itself, I think Spain is definitely, just like Japan is separate from Asia. I think Spain is definitely separate from Europe in its chocolate tradition. Spain has, I think, the most cutting edge view on how to take chocolate into the realm of art.
Okay.
So yeah. So yeah, I was happy to, work in all those different places and see chocolate through different, to see chocolate as different media as opposed to different expressions of one media.
So how would you like Indians to kind of approach chocolate today? I mean, given your vast experience, what do you want them, to look for, to taste, how would you want their taste buds to develop?
I think, okay, again, a little controversial. My view on this is, I think Indians need to stop sort of lying to themselves. If you like dairy milk, you're allowed to like dairy milk. There's nothing wrong with it, right? Like, I think I see a lot of people just trying really hard to get it. They're trying really hard to get Ether, or like, no, I only like Nabilun, I only like Mason and Co. Don't like chocolate because it's a bean to bar. Don't like chocolate because it's like chocolate because it tastes good.
Right.
And as you mature, as your palate matures, you will trust yourself to move from an Amul to an Ether. And if that never happens for you, that's fine. Enjoy Amul. It's cheaper anyways.
Yeah.
Don't force it. Yeah, don't force it.
Yeah.
And I think when that change comes naturally is when we in the chocolate industry will get lasting, a market that is lasting. Because right now, a lot of the market that we have, a lot of the money that we make is very fickle. It's very people trying to look fancy. And that's great, because they will spend like X amount of lakhs on you once. And then they've proven to the world that they like Ether chocolate.
Right.
So like it because you like it, don't like it because it's fancy, is what I would tell people.
Yeah. I think it's very similar with what happened with wine. When wine initially came into India, it was all about being hip and with it. And, therefore, I like a certain brand of wine, but not because they really enjoyed wine. I think it's kind of similar to that, the way chocolate is going. So in terms of what would, you've started Ether, it's been 6 to 8 months, you're really enjoying yourself. Where would you like Ether to be in the next year? What is the vision you have for yourself and for Ether as well?
Latoya, am I allowed to say? What am I allowed to say?
Well,
No.
without giving away anything, you can. Yeah.
So I think we, as I said, we started in autumn-winter of 2019, 2020 was our first collection. We were really, really excited about our spring-summer collection, which Corona, unfortunately, shut that door on us. We were doing a collection sort of centered around the ocean. it's called Ultramarine. It was something that I was very excited about. But what I want to do for the next year is definitely take a lot of the learnings that we had over this last year. One thing, of course, is we didn't concentrate a lot on chocolate as gifts, which is a very, very big market in India. So I think what people should look out for is a lot more sort of a lot more focus on beautiful chocolate gifts that aren't shelf stable because gifting hai sasta hai, because gifting hai bada dikhna chahiye, because gifting hai. So like really taking back elegance and taking back a focus on quality when it comes to gifts. And as you said, definitely by this time next year, I want to be available to our clientele in at least Delhi, Bangalore, Kolkata. Yeah, by this time next year, definitely that.
Okay, super. As far as that is concerned, it's great, and we want to, we can't wait to taste your chocolate. What about, going for the World Chocolate Master? Are you training to become one of those anytime? And how do you see that fitting into your professional career?
No, I don't care. I mean, I don't need that kind of validation.
Okay.
Also, I think being a World Chocolate Master is with like any with any Olympiad, right? It's a lot of training for that one moment, training very singularly, being good at making chocolate pieces. What I want to do is feed everybody chocolate, and I know that I can do that well. And you know what? The people that do their World Chocolate Masters are very, very talented and way more talented than I will ever be, and I'm happy with that.
Okay.
I am more than happy. Yeah. For me, that's not a goal.
Okay. Are you also looking at training people in India, teaching them about chocolate, young chefs, who probably want to come and learn? Is that on your plate?
No?
No?
I haven't thought about it. I think I would make a terrible teacher.
Okay.
I actually worked. I worked as a tutor in another life. I worked as a chemistry teacher back when I was at the university. I was terrible at it. And I also like much like most chefs. I have just no patience for like bullshit. So yeah. So I don't think I'm cut out for being a teacher.
Okay.
But
super.
But on the flip side of that, one thing that I definitely want to bring to the Indian sort of chocolate and pastry sphere is don't focus on your recipes. They don't matter. Share your recipes, share your knowledge. I have people sending me random DMs just like, hey, I like this. Can I have the recipe? I'm like, sure, man. If you can make it just as well as I can, then you should be making it. I didn't go to Mexico and XYZ to make something that somebody else can also make. So if you can make this, more power to you. I'll make something else.
Okay. Finally, what would you say to aspiring, chocolatiers who want to get into space, similar like you?
Don't worry about the market. Don't. Just the amount of investors I have come to me with like this idea, that idea, like, and their first question is, oh, what are we going to sell it for? How many people will it sell it to? Don't worry about that. If the one question, you should start a business and you should start a chocolatier if you have something to say and you cannot wait to say it. And you don't care if anyone is listening. And if your first question is who's going to listen to me, go work for somebody else because they figured that out.
Okay, super. Thank you so much, Chef, for speaking to me. I had a lot of fun, and of course, I can't wait to taste the chocolates, whenever it is made available or whenever I come to Mumbai. But it's so exciting to have somebody like you come into India and kind of change the dessert space, as it were, and, give people more to look forward to. And I think that's very exciting. So I want to wish you the very best to eat the chocolate as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And it was absolutely, I was so nervous before this call because I have no, as
Okay.
you can say, no camera presence. But this was
No,
so much fun. Thank you for making this so comfortable.
sure, sure. You're most welcome. All the best. Take care.
All
Thank
right.
you, Chef. Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.